worship of materialism, the very worship of status, right? We are dealing with a reality in which some people are not so well adjusted to a sick society. And you know what? That's okay. Because this society has shown its sickness. This society has shown its apathy. This society has shown its statistics. And statistics show, and you can Google this, type in suicides and new moon. And we're not going to care about this video being demonetized. I believe that it is unethical for YouTube to not correct its very system. Like here it is, YouTube is supposed to be there to help prevent some people from going over the edge, and YouTube can play a massive role in a mental health crisis. So can social media. By the way, I was just watching a recent video from Son of Hightower. I try to minimize the amount of videos that I do watch from others on YouTube because there is so much mental illness. And there are so few people that are showing real world emotions with regards to the things that matter. So I don't know how long I'm going to go here on this topic, but what I do realize, I'm going to play you a video. We're at least going to listen to the audio, and I hope this helps you. I hope this helps you understand what may be taking place, what may be taking place. You see, I'd like to actually get some software or figure out what website I need to use to run statistics on when people are searching the most for certain topics or keywords. And one of the things that I've noticed in my own behavior as I've seen certain emotions rise is I have looked for scientific studies that discuss, they don't necessarily get into why, but just simply the statistic of during full moons and new moons, those are times in which people go through a lot of stuff. And in some cases, we see more violence. In some cases, we see more suicides. And society is up against institutions that do not look at things like this or how certain periods can amplify a lot of lower emotions, which can be caused by disinformation on the internet. Or there could be certain events that are manufactured. We won't go deep down to the conspiratorial trail, but those of you who are already on that level of realizing A, events manufactured, and most of you by now, my audience at least, not all, B, are at the level of realizing the patterning behind the events that are manufactured. Now, we're going to go beyond events that are manufactured by the physical, and I am not discounting electronic harassment and elements in which a person may be targeted on an individual level. But where is it really coming from? So I do recognize there can be technologies that are man-made that can be sending out certain signals, but then there's maybe an organic technology that's maybe related to our biology that's not so man-made, but technology nonetheless. But how do we know that it's man-made technology? Answer, you don't, let alone us proving what's really going on. So on a microscopic level, I see the potential of foreign nation states involved in this interference. I even think about people in California, from northern to southern, being targeted by foreign nation states. And it wouldn't surprise me to be told that some people have gone in a more radical direction, even white nationalist, as a result of directed energy thought targeting. There is no doubt in my mind. This is why you need to be very careful who you even talk to on the internet, not to belittle others that are hurting on the internet, but to understand that in order to keep ourselves safe, we have to be careful who we engage in that may also be under extreme levels of psychic attack. I have never known in this known universe a self-help group of people coming together with their targeting. The only thing that I can imagine is a royal rumble. It is just the nature of our species. This is not a species that has produced constructive conversations and healing experiences or other forms of dialogue that can lift commonly healed forms of psychosis. So we are talking, I guess I have more to say than I thought. We are going to be talking about spiritual attack and perceptions of suicide. We are not necessarily going to label it suicidal. Perceptions of suicide can include imagery. And I am picking up on what's happening within the collective. And there is a gray area between, for some people, harming themselves and harming others. You need to be of the level of intelligence most people in the mental health field are not, of the level of cognitive function or intuition to be able to read someone. They were taught how things work and how things don't work from a book. I am not diagnosed with a mental illness. I don't believe I'm mentally ill. I deal with the stresses of being who I am. There was a time in recent months in which I sought someone to talk to, because there are people that you just can't talk to. There are people that you can, there are people that you can't talk to about just about anything. And so there's like these whole industries, although a lot of them want money. And if you want, like, good therapy or good life coaching, there's all kinds of life coaches on the internet, but who's free? And who do I have for a life coach? No one, right? I'm my own therapist. I'm my own life coach. I'm my own pastor. But have I sought just outlets to vent, just to vent, so I can save you a little bit of headache hearing something from me for the 100th time? Like, I already know what I already told you. And I already know when my pain can inadvertently affect you as a listener, and you can feel attacked when you're not being attacked simply because Alex Answer is hurting really bad. And I'm really seeing this, and in this post solar flare and post solar super moon, rather, those elements combine together. So we have a strong masculine and feminine pulse of energy. I'm going to speculate, but other people also say the same thing. So this could also be a time where there's peace amongst us as men and women when there's these types of energies that are coming together. There can also be influences from the solar and the lunar that can subconsciously manifest in what seems to be friction. What may seem to be conflict, though, may be the result of energies that ultimately are moving to heal something. So things are rising to the surface. Getting back to the new moon. So I don't have a presentation planned for you to explain all the physics of how during a new moon and or a full moon, but we'll focus on new moon now, which is what we're under. We are under the influence of the new moon. And the new moon has been scientifically correlated with a increase in suicides. And there are some studies that have looked at the geomagnetic storms caused by the sun and its correlation to psychiatric admissions. So what I've come to realize in that mild attempt to try to vent about things to improve my own platform, and to be frank, the perception of being more professional, although that's debatable. I think a lot of you just like the Alex Ansary as he is, but there are elements of myself that, you know, wishes that I had some sort of impulse control to not share things of such a deep personal nature, because sometimes I wonder if business is a big word, a strong word, right? But if the shoe fits, my platform is a better word. And also the way that I provide for myself, because I know that I've also alienated people from supporting me or sticking around because they're opposed to hearing about their host hurting. It's like that song from the 80s, I Want a Hero. But isn't it just that? If someone only wants optimistic, like almost like bubblegum, happy all the time, almost like antidepressant media, where everything's just fun all the time and everything's just cool and about acting cool. No, I care about real people. I'm the type of individual that's more qualified than people that went to school for behavioral health problems. What experience do I have? Seriously, you want to go there? There's the things that I overcame by myself in the 2000s. There's how this platform, Access TV before YouTube, was something that provided so much healing in my life, where up until the age of 24, I had a lot of personal life wreckage and pain, came from a broken family, and I'm not connected to either bloodline. And then 9/11 its own way, one could argue, could have set me up for failure to remove myself off this planet. And instead, I spoke my truth about how I felt about the world after the event that led us in these wars. And now I see the true nature of oppression attempt to silence voices like mine, not just in the world of so called regular media, but in regards to trying to give constructive criticism and feedback to the higher ups within the mental health field. And so a lot of things are not just about myself. You know that. So when I come across information, there's going to be a bunch of layoffs of call centers. Plus we're looking at another government shutdown. Plus we're looking at other things. The people that are alive today, whether they're an average man or woman that's running around gathering resources and trying to make ends meet, or the man or woman of various ethnicities that are involved in the mental health field, they are not in any way, shape, or form prepared to deal with the mental health crises that are in existence today. They have drugs and they have ways in which they may show some sort of allergy to another person in pain. Because no matter how much schooling somebody may have had, they are still human and humans are imperfect. And humans, as I said before, in my deeper understanding of human psychology, are acting not so much like they have empathy, but apathy and pain taking place within their body, like an extreme ache that will not stop until they stop listening to the person that's sharing their pain or isolation, whether it be over race, class, or belief system. What do you mean belief system, Alex? I don't understand. In today's day and age, anyone that dabbles in alternative theories about the way that the world really works can easily be marginalized as a dangerous person, let alone if they're called a conspiracy theorist. And so there are ways in which what's actually happening, and we're going to get more into the suicide part in just a minute. What's really happening is elements of our society are having normal forms of pain and stress and alarm at the larger mental health crisis of others. Social media, digital addiction, which I still suffer from, even if you're off the internet, you or I, and we're just looking at the computer and we're just listening to another podcast and we're just listening to another video. At some point in our day, we have to realize that we are showing signs of digital addiction. And just because we're aware of it doesn't mean that it all has to be fixed at that moment. But there could be things that we experience, things that we see. And now I want you to think loop, negative energy loop, like a loop. There are things that we see that can impact us in a negative way. But those acts of violence, those acts of cruelty that impacted us in a negative way could have been caused by the negative energy loop. And so be careful who you connect with. And if someone doesn't want to connect with me, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil. If I don't necessarily want to connect with certain people, it doesn't mean that I don't like those people. We are actually living in a paranormal world where some of us are living experiences and going through challenges that other so called normal humans, or we'll just call it what it is, so called average souls that aren't up on a radar, we go through things that others don't. So a guy like me that's involved in the real world of promoting stable mental health, psychic self defense, and crossing from the cognitive to the spiritual. I cover a lot of ground, and I believe that I'm more qualified to help people suffering from things, but I'm a person that can easily be marginalized as the threat, not the person that's being targeted or could be targeted. No, no, no. Those supposed institutions of love and light have their own supremacy ideology based on race and gender. And you know where this goes. You can even go back to my old videos, good men being left behind or good men leaving mainstream society, future ramifications for women's safety. There is a big, big role in female evolution spiritually to transcend from calling every man that has a position a misogynist and identifying the actual misogyny and racism, not just misogyny, but identifying where it actually does exist and those good men that still are around, that are worth something. And there's a lot of people out there that are involved in various industries that generally don't like people. And one can even ask themselves if that's what was the prerequisite for them to be tough enough to make it through their first week. In industries to where it's really the upper management that's to blame, not the lower end people on the totem pole, the case managers or the therapists. And it's really important that you understand this because we are in a society that creates crazy people. And it's so crazy that we can actually like be reading stories. It's not funny, but like the Coast Guard officer of 28 years who compiles a hit list, right? You know what I'm talking about. We covered it right here. Thank you, YouTube, for remonetizing it. Like I literally do not want to perceive YouTube as completely evil, but YouTube is a part of this. YouTube does not lean solely left. That is a lie. I know what YouTube recommends I watch, and it is of a particular narrative, which I cover in other videos. So you need to know right here and now that the YouTube that presents itself as YouTube Creators for Change is playing games with you. If you identify as a conservative and you are seeing nothing but what you would call quote unquote libtard content on your watch list, that may be a result of what you're watching and obsessing on. YouTube on my end does not recommend content that takes us outside the illusions of separation. YouTube literally recommends 1488 mindset. This is the truth. Okay, so we don't have to go like on and on and on about this. Just you need to understand, you as a Jewish man, you as a black man, you as a white man, you as a man from somewhere else. Like you may have an ideology that the system is trying to clean itself up, and you may not know about the institutional funk of something like the microcosm of the YouTube website as a construct. That it is not what you think it is. It is not a free flow. It is not a free flow like you may have been led to believe it is. Just because you're seeing someone else's success of 67,000 views or 69,000 subscribers, it may be what they've said and what they didn't say. And there may be demons and possessions and other forms of influence that help those people come up with those specific keywords that will help them hit the 777 so that the algos will carry them. There's a reason I do not click on AMTV videos anymore for even analysis. Some of you have been riding shotgun with me for a long time, and you've heard me give the updates on how sick he's gotten. You know, there's a point to where you don't click anymore, to where you don't click play, to where their eyes start looking really, really dark, and something really dark seems to have taken them over, and the algorithms is taking them to the top. 600 and what? 66,000 subscribers? Is that where you're at now, Chris Green? And so pay attention to how the actual doomsday fear pornographers on the internet during full moons and new moons without even being aware of it, they may go ape shit. They may show you their demons. Let's go back to the loop effect. We could be watching this, I myself being a super sensitive for empath, and watching these things unfold in Portland, and I will be super affected, especially during a full moon. Not so much right now, it's pretty calm. But this last full moon that we came out of, about 2 weeks ago, you may remember I was also talking about the psyops. Like we're witnessing the psyops coming out in the mainstream media that I warned you about intuitively. And it's come out that the Portland police, in a way, align themselves with elements of the right, not to excuse criminal behavior on elements of the far left that will shut down streets. I don't support that. But look organically at when we see the most violence and unrest and correlate that with the full moon and the new moon. And it is like the new moon, like something happened in the recent year to where the new moons are affecting the people in a dramatic way. This may be in relation to the effects of the deep solar minimum with a thinning of the Earth's magnetic field, which also means that minor solar flares and geomagnetic storms, also caused by solar wind, not flares, but solar wind, solar ambient radiation that makes its way to the Earth through portals that connect the sun to the Earth. So during solar minimums, these geomagnetic storms and other things, we also have stories about even recently another comet hit the sun. We're connected with the sun. The planet's connected to the sun. A comet hitting the sun somehow in some way affects our consciousness. but it's true. So there are things going on that relate more to changes in energy and magnetism and how that affects our consciousness. It's less a conversation really about mental health. So it's important for some people to understand that some of the impulses to self destruct may be coming from a dark place. There may be something about the new moon and something about the new moon phases during certain periods of the year that can have that type of effect. I'm going to play some audio in just a little bit, but I'm also covering some other explanations other than spiritual for why this is a period of it's a volatile period for those that are suffering. And so I believe that certain areas, even mountain range areas, you can literally Google right now, why there's so many suicides in Colorado in mountain town areas. Now they ask questions, but they don't actually attempt to answer them, and they don't really want to hear from people like me or read ebooks like the one published for free at solarmaxnews.com. Those are more rhetorical questions, and when they answer that, they do like maybe a long, in-depth like story about how someone got really depressed and off themselves. And they'll often focus more on women than men or the increase in women killing themselves. But they may still stop short of going beyond what happened to little Julie or her boy. Like there are like some areas in Colorado that are way worse than the rest of the state. This is one of them. Okay, schizophrenia is a big, big deal in this off-grid area. Schizophrenia can also be described as and we're not going to obsess on the word archon because that's too specific. It could also be an earthbound spirit. So there could be Native American energy on land that was stolen. There could be land that's cursed. There could be other factors. There could be a roving entity. Entities may also come about through very unhealthy behaviors like cooking meth or like other things that destroy the environment and destroy people. I believe there's a strong demonic element to things like cooking meth. Well, those of you know that I'm poor than shit. And I went off grid just to get off grid as soon as possible several years ago. It didn't mean that I had the money to go somewhere nice. You know the energy in some of the lower income off grid areas if you've lived in those areas. You know what's up. And isolation already isn't very healthy on a certain level. And so, I see something as specific as microcosmic influences that are super specific. So, with regards to mental health, people that are more at risk than others, and sometimes you have to be that person that's faced a certain level of persecution or a person that's been a certain type of a fear to know what that's like. And that's part of being human. That's not then alleging that the other person, because of their race alone, it's more so programming than race. And so it's not reacting with racism to say that some people in this nation don't have it in them to have the perception of the pain and suffering of another because of programming and cultural norms. There are cultural norms that are normal now that were not normal a few years ago. They are not healthy. This whole thing about shutting your mouth because you don't want to be labeled an SJW or something else. Maybe you don't want to be labeled a right-wing conspiracy theorist. Oh, there's a lot of that judgment. Oh, yeah. That's just beget conspiracy theorists. Create more crimes. What the fuck? Says Coast to Coast AM, or at least an article that they posted to. At least George Norrie or his webmaster, despite their alliance with Roger Stone, in case you didn't know, God, Nori's so disappointed in you. And those of you that are hardcore Nori fans that are not down at the far right, if any of you literally had an ear into Nori, he deserves a mild but polite chastising for his involvement in the left-right paradigm. He did tons of stories making it all about Hillary Clinton. And I'm not a fan of any of them, but if you're going to be listening, and I mentioned the other day certain websites, make sure those websites and figures, to the best of your ability, are not a part of the problem. You have the freedom to visit any website you want. Okay, but sometimes some of us are going to get a little opinionated, and we're going to share when there are people out there that are not who they say that they are. The Drudge Report has a lot of great news, But do websites like them and InfoWars, that's also put out some decent news, do they overall have an agenda when they're pointing their finger at the other freaky people, but not actually able to point the finger at what they represent and the role they're playing in the nation? And that's where we really need to go, because in this fallen world of mental illness, they want us at war with each other and just pointed out just the craziness of it all instead of going, but why the craziness? But why the craziness? And this is an important conversation for anyone involved in mental health that can hear me, that they need to understand that the system inadvertently is programmed to judge the person that's suffering as a result of perhaps other people targeting them or being cruel to them. And we live in a world where the people that are involved in suicide prevention don't seem to know a lot about the root causes of suicide, and they don't, in any way, shape, or form, seem to have a humility and a humbleness that's willing to listen. Okay, so today in this world, right, you need to get rid of this, judging area as left or right. There may be ways in which we can kind of go, oh, this is more on the far right. Oh, this is more on the far left. Why is it that we're so easily labeling something left or right based on like certain trivial factors based on surface level appearance? Because when you move beyond the left or the right, just like I say, we all bleed red. When you move beyond the left and the right, you see the fallen state of psychology everywhere. And by the way, I see a lot of signs that there's going to be a lot more discrimination and illusions of separation from Caucasian white women on the left towards men of Middle Eastern heritage. Okay, I believe that a lot of the narratives that you're getting right now from the media about Caucasian women preferring men of a certain kind mostly serves a propaganda race war purpose than having any true basis in fact. And it would empower you to listen to a person of color or someone that's gone through some crap, who has had to rely on their own internal strength, prana, chi, or ki, in order to remain alive in a world. Oh, this is textbook insanity, what I'm about to say. In a world where it's as if, I don't want to say the word universe, but elements of the universe seem to be conspiring against us. Now, that's psychic attack. That's asking the question, are your thoughts your own? That's taking a deeper look. And you need to understand that this is a ethnocentric, as opposed to the ethno-state dystopia, but the ethnocentric word I've been using for years before the ethno-state agenda was out in plain sight, like it is right now. But the ethnocentric mentality I've been challenging since the Portland days. I would challenge Portlanders on the ethnocentric nature of judging somebody like me who sounds, looks, and feels different than any other human they've come across. And instead of treating it with fear and judgment, how about like a little bit more curiosity, and not just sexual curiosity? Like, where are the people that would help me carry my message to others and not just a little licky licky? Are we nothing but dogs that sniff butts? Or are we powerful beings that have been squeezed into bodies that just happen to also fornicate and reproduce? Why is life all about the fornication, baby making behavior? Now, on one level, we actually need more sex in our lives because some people have kind of opted out from playing the game in order to be physical with anyone at all. So we will opt out from playing the game in order to have a bit of honor. Unfortunately, somebody like me that may talk about going outside the box of being a typical horn dog male, there's labels that are then set up for us in that arena. Incel, which is unfortunately like very much identified with MAGA people. MGTOW as well is like identified as like far right. And it's like there are people out there in our world today that are a part of the bully side reality. There are people alive today that in no way, shape, or form are doing their part to combat misogyny and the real misogyny and hatred towards elements of women, specifically white women that have children that are less white than them. That is the biggest misogyny that exists on the planet today. And there are many women that are involved in participating in that misogyny. Where are the women that have misunderstood what Alex Ansary is about to join me in spreading the truth, or to let me know that they get it? They won't and they can't. And I've been doing this for 15 years. When women do contact me, it's very short and very little to do with the actual content that's being said. And that's a hope and a message for those of you that have contacted me and may contact me in the future, to calibrate what it is that you're trying to communicate or say. Try to make sure that you understand me. If people want to have a deep conversation about the real nature of reality without making it about them or how they feel about the host, but how about the larger totality of the planet and the generation of men and women that are to follow us after we are no longer alive? How can we preserve this knowledge? How can things be printed out and posted somewhere? Because that's what I, as a soul trapped in these genetics, looks for in the men and women that contact me. A willingness to help spread the message. Not whether or not we're engaged on a certain level or may engage on a certain level. I'm on a very specific path that's not leaving this part of North America. And from this place in North America, I'm hoping that the good work that I'm doing will reach the right people. There's no point in me begging you for certain things beyond that which you can provide. If you're not called to surface or you're not meant to be that close to me, then you're not, and that's okay. The universe has done a great deal to assist me in ways that I can't even conceive. My friend Angelus, who's like a sister I've never had, right, has played that type of surrogate family role in a world in which I have no family. I have had to overcome things as a decent man without decent men and women in my corner, and very few people connecting with me on the internet to help in what ways they can remotely. I don't care if you're in China right now or France. You can sign up immediately to be someone that's, or Tunisia. In fact, if you're in some of those places where my message might be more well received, why aren't you helping me more? You could be in Poland and you can use some sort of an app to translate my words in English to the Polish language. So this is no longer just a kink thing to where you privately, or we'll just say call for what it is, enjoy. We'll use some clean words. Enjoy the sound of my voice. What about you being a part of helping someone else come across my ideas? Do you realize how great it felt when I would share knowledge that someone else created at a coffee shop and hand them a DVD? Do you know that you can literally, with today's technology, send out Alex Ansary DVDs to actual producers? Like literally just one of you with connections could help me reach the world. And so keep that in mind, that the only thing that's actually stopping us is our own energy blockages. I have an energy blockage when it comes to writing. I'd like to write my life story. Right now is a very hard time. Right now, I want to take some time off the videos. So I don't always think that it's best to go daily. But I may want to on the side write, and there may be something that seems to be prohibiting me from wanting to face those emotions from that time in my life. And I know that therapy, the only real therapy for a guy like me, is to be able to share his story, and to share his story without fear. One also needs to be a little bit intelligent, even if they don't have fear, to not share the wrong information with the wrong people at the right time or the wrong time. More like, we don't want to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. We want to be at the right place at the right time. There's a proper time and place to be sharing, say, personal life details like an autobiography. And there's going to be certain times and places where it's not. There are certain realities to where, whether we like it or not, we're on the radar, and the world might as well know what I've survived. The world might as well know what it's like to be born Middle Eastern, but not a member of Islam. And how members of that religion may even disown their own blood, even if somebody like me is against their genocide. Only in a fallen world like this would that type of isolation be permitted. It's a fallen world. It's a fallen world. You should not be afraid of the evil forces of this world, nor I, taking us out. But we shouldn't rush to take ourselves out by our own hand. If the sense is so great in a world where there's so much danger, if you're an independent journalist, maybe the other option then is to go full bore independent journalist. Overriding suicidal thoughts and realizing that if you're going to walk in my shoes, you literally gamble with your life like Russian roulette. Why kill yourself then? Why not let God truly sort it out then? Let go and let God, if you will. So there's a time for a breakthrough in the breakdown. And there could be certain times, this is a non-spiritual attack theory, but as we go from winter to spring, there's more suicides. As we go from summer to fall, this has to do with the melatonin levels, light changing. When the light changes and our sleep patterns change, we change. And it may have nothing to do with psychic attack and nothing to do with target individualism, nothing to do with your cell phone. And it can have everything to do with those emotions somehow attempting to release during those periods. It's also the period around the equinox that we have, as I said, an increase in suicide. I was going to say geomagnetic storms. There is an element of the solar wind that is able to predict, even during a solar minimum when there's less solar flares and a spotless sun, the solar wind, which is like a solar ambient cloud of radiation that shoots from the sun to the earth. And so due to the rotation um, of the sun, there is a general estimation of when we're going to get hit. And so with regards to this, or rotation of the earth, with regards to this whole thing, we can look forward to periods, equinoxes, for example, spring, and other periods. So certain types of new moons, like this one. Let me ask you a question. How are you feeling last night? Let me ask you that 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago. How about the last full moon? Do you notice an uptick? I already know your answer is yes. You noticed an uptick in stuff. Did you correlate that with the energy that we go through as sentient beings on the planet as far as magnetism? And the question that I have, and we don't necessarily have the answer, but we can speculate, because we have the world of science and the world of paranormal, and you know as well as I do that they are strictly split down the middle. And so there could be energetic changes, magnetism, and changes in the brain that make us more perceptive. It can make us also more perceptive to psychic attack and certain entities that are attacking us based on deeper reasons that I've covered in other videos, even based on bloodline. That's right. There could be certain racist, that's right, entities that want to cull the planet of some of us more than some of you. I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe and perceive that there are demonic entities that are behind the race war theology and genocide of the Middle East. There may be other types of entities that are going to be coming later that have a maybe more of an appetite for Caucasian blood. I don't know if they necessarily care what blood it is, as long as blood is spilt no matter what. They can create things and conditions down on the planet for people to be okay with that. But if you actually look at like what the humans are doing, they're sacrificing or killing other humans for demonic entities. That's the story of Earth. Welcome. Here's a helmet. If you look at the real study of Earth, it's ongoing, regular, maintained human sacrifice. And we have people that dabble in supernatural commentary and conspiracy theory commentary, and they steer clear of discussing actual human sacrifice. They stop with babies and abortions, and they revert back to other talk. And I'm here to help them understand the biggest blind spot that they will ever have exposed to them. No other man or woman will ever expose to them, to you. You will not hear others on the internet. This is why I suffer more than other humans. You will not hear other humans like me show you your blind spots to evolving beyond the TI program, as some people refer to it, or the conspiracy, or just inner something here. And is it really a new world order when we've really been dealing with the old world order that would like us to fear some sort of new, new agreement or new mentality? Why is that? Why would AJ say death to the new world order when he was so deceptive? Well, what's the real analysis then of the language? Did he accidentally say it that way, or was he just because I would say the same thing? But it's like, wait a minute, what if there is a new order? Might be a strong word, but a new way of the world. Should we be fearing the new way of the world if we are to break through the darkness and the light is to shine through? The answer is no. Could they pre-place people to say certain words to get us to fear certain types of realities in the future, to where we are agreeing more rather than hurting each other? And so we really have an old dynasty that is global. And what we're really hoping to see is some change on our planet. We may also have to deal with the reality that things have to get worse before they get better. And that's where we're talking about the collapse of civilization. In a future report I'm going to read, you can look it up for yourself, a very detailed, long report from the BBC on the collapse of civilization. I will be talking with you about that in conjunction with reviewing some photos from the Denver airport, the murals, as you know them, and how people used to show some concern about this artwork featuring indigenous people murdered by SS soldiers. Funny how things got real quiet in recent years, especially in Colorado, with a Denver airport shaped like a swastika and a raging alt-right movement washing across the state like a water. I know what I feel. I know what I see. I know what I sense. I sense a humanoid species divided by illusions of separation that have literally had almost like an entity walk up to them, like the bad guy from Dark City, go, sleep, sleep. And the system is set up to marginalize those people that are afraid for their lives or concerned about others. Do you ever see an anti-war movement ever? If so, who and where? Don't you think that's not really a good sign? I mean, if the left isn't even having anti-war marches, you got to know something's up. You got to know there's a big cross on the Middle East and elsewhere, and that there is blood being shed that doesn't seem to see any end in sight. In a world where they can manufacture an event, an attack, they can blame it on a problem, reaction, solution. You know where the rest of this goes. And so, no, we're not out of the woods. And a planet that is covered by that level of darkness, well, there's going to be an abundance of negative entities, from entities that may not be earthbound to those that are. And there could be coordination between the higher level demons or jinn and earthbound spirits. And what do? Day and night, day and night, day and night, especially in some of these urban areas, hanging around bars, hanging around crack houses, getting people into drugs, getting people into jail. I was even reviewing, like everything in my own life is a larger story of spiritual targeting. I mean, we can take the G-Man, the guy that I thought was my friend. We can look at, that period in which I was 18 years old, in which, I gave him my arm, and he showed me how to do it up. And it's like, wow, isn't that interesting that certain people will only be in our lives to get us into criminal endeavors, so we're marked for life, so we're disarmed. And then all of a sudden, when they clean up our act, they may disappear, clean up their life, maybe find themselves a little girlfriend, maybe move in with that girlfriend, maybe never once talk to that guy whose life they helped fuck up. Shout out to Gunner. And there are people out there that think that they're in the program of 12 steps when they don't even know the first thing about step 4. You even have people that even share meetings that have histories of trolling and abusing people on the internet. I'm sorry, what was that, step 4? Or were we not even on step 1? And those people know who they are. Got to be careful if you have a substance issue and you have any engagement or emotional disturbance with people in the AA program. They may look upon you and see that you're somebody that they can walk on. Okay. If I had a nickel for every time I've been walked on by people from the 12 steps, boy, I'd have multiple properties with multiple wives. So a lot of things are not what they seem, especially when it comes to spirituality, drug recovery, which I can do a free flow on that. I don't necessarily work with addicts, but I'm sure that some of you may struggle with maybe even the simplest of things like smoking, drinking. Maybe you'd like to smoke less pot, not more. Maybe you don't like it when you hear people act like pot's always medicinal and it always, no. Just smoking all the time and being constantly in that state of consciousness can leave someone impressionable to the psychic attacks of certain spirits, especially if you're on the internet all the time and people are focusing their attention upon you. You may not have that etheric shielding in your aura to keep that away. You may think, even falsely, that someone psychically attacked you and that you have to do some sort of reverse type of ritual. It may not be that at all. That may be like overkill, dude. It may be the fact that we are attacked by entities that use the images of humans. Hell, they were using the image of Tiny Tootsie the other day. It was like a wave of a mountain, like, ah. By the way, I heard that he fled at least the mainland and he's in American Samoa. But like the things that I fixate on the internet, the people that I watch, they will be in my dreams. So you simply watching me may be the only thing that's causing me to be in your dreams, not me being in your dreams. You just and there may be people or forces of influence that have control over you that will false flag. Oh, there, I just notified the AI, but we're not talking about the event that got us in these wars. We're talking about dreams, baby. They may manufacture an image of a certain person to attract you to them or get you away from them. There may be certain things that come through the dream realm that warn you, and there could be things that just manifest because you're worried, right? So yeah, a week ago, for the first time in the history of Alexandery dreams, someone's firing a 38 snub nose revolver within a week or two after a YouTuber calls me a demon. And when that YouTuber called me a demon the night before, I saw it in a dream. I saw someone looking at me on YouTube and cursing me. And it was just a flash. Someone's watching you and cursing you with demons. And then it happened. They did it on YouTube. That's a pretty bad sign, guys, for people to be hearing voices thinking that I'm a demon. That's not a good sign for the human species. That's not a good sign for Alex Ansary and his interactions, engagement with the audience. I'm hoping to see something better. Show me the love. Okay, you don't necessarily need to call me an angel or an archangel, right? But I am a human being. I am a human. I don't necessarily believe that everybody agrees that I'm a human. Okay, when there are certain signs, right? If you know anything about Jews during World War II, before all this marginalization, and this is why I have a very low tolerance for those people of certain bloodlines whose ancestors literally were put in ovens. They are the last people to be acting like they don't know what time it is. They are the last people to be silent about millions that are being killed now, the Jews of today. And so there's a lot of people that are Jews now that cite their own fears from the past and being Jewish, while not, these people are all over Portland. These people are all over the United States. And what they need are people that are Jewish that can see to speak to them. That's the solution. So if you happen to be a person of sight that happens to be Jewish or other, you have a massive role to play on the earth to help others see. If you are black and you can hear my voice, there is a role for you to play. Unfortunately, in some cases, because of this fallen world, you may only get across to people that look like you or that speak your language. I don't think that I'm a failure at the English language. I think that I have a lot of creativity. I think that I have more going for me than I give myself credit for, not to confuse that with arrogance. But I think that I have and I felt your positivity in recent days. I can see that you like the recent videos that came up. And I know in my heart you get more out of me trying to help you than me yelling at you throwing other energy at you that doesn't apply to you, but understanding where you're at as a imperfect human like me in this fallen world. That we have so many things that we have. There's nothing boring about this world. In fact, it's exciting when you start learning about what it's like to really evolve, and then you start to like reap some of the benefits. But they may be totally unorthodox, these benefits I speak of. And I'm still trying to find out what it means to have fun. And I'm telling you, I shouldn't have to go out and have sex with random people to have fun or to drink a bunch of alcohol. I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. I certainly like to experience that within an hour of where I live instead of feel like I have to go to another state or another coast to feel human, to release some energy, but no, 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 no. But the rewards come with a stronger Alex answering, more natural, all natural, overcoming certain things, overcoming phobias, overcoming fears, overcoming psychic attack, understanding the phases of the moon. And before you know it, well, if you're in my shoes and you're really trying to coach yourself, life coach wise, to literally go up the ascension of evolving beyond the attack year after year, we got to be honest with ourselves whether we're getting stronger or weaker. And there's going to be times in which we are strong because of the planetary positions and times in which it seems like our defenses are down and that, we're falling apart. Are we really falling apart? Is it really a mental health crisis? Or are we really just responding to the energies? And if you could see the racism and prejudice of others and not return that to them and love them anyways, maybe not love them specifically, but not judge their ethnicity, not judge their race, but love anyways, you're going to be in a better position than the person that's going to just be stuck in the anger. But there is a place for righteous anger to call out the unconscious behaviors of others. And what they do is throw a psychic attack at us and call us anti them, when they may be the ones that are really participating in anti-themism, projecting, projecting onto us that we're the anti-ones, when it really may be them. Do not waste your breath trying to heal the damaged humans that walk amongst us. They are left, they are right, they are of all the ethnicities, they are male, they are female. And so this isn't about you or me pegging it down to a nationality and pegging it down to a this and pegging it down to a politics, but really picking up on energy to the point where, you can feel the energy, maybe you can, of literally the people in the grocery store. There may be people that are putting vibes out and it's like, man, I got to get away from this guy. And there may be other people where it's like, wow, I'd like to know that person. That man seems intelligent. That woman seems intelligent. It could also just be the vibes they're putting out. They may not necessarily be good people. And so the vibes that we get from those things that we're picking up on may be there to throw us off, maybe there to throw us off the trail. And so when you're in a public place, you, I, others were picking up on those spiritual forces. And some of us may be more or less vulnerable during certain times to energies attaching onto us. Kind of like think about the flies and sticky paper or something to that nature. Like there is something about us just simply being human to where we can attract certain types of entities. And so if we are people that have been bullied our whole lives in some ways, I know that I am, and or abused in some ways, this includes being assaulted as a child, and this includes maybe other things that added insult to injury. The truth is, the human that brought me to this world would often say that when people struck me in the face, attempted a knockout, that it was my karma. So she was a part of the abuse. Her friend Carl, that acted like he was a psychic, who made up a bunch of bullshit about ascension theory back in the day and moving on to spacecrafts, agreed with her that it was my karma for being nearly knocked out by a group of black boys in a locker room. Did I then become a racist, calling them the N-word for all the different times that I was mauled? But they never really took me out. There was just like a brief mauling, wail, or fear of beatdown, right? Because I'm a short man, right? So I've had various people try to play the tall game over me, tall man syndrome, which is pretty sick when you grow up in a world that only talks about small man syndrome, which is probably more based in like surviving and not dying, Whereas tall man syndrome is a very real thing, as well as this civilization and this generation being the generation that was silent about millions of people massacred overseas. I literally can find no one on the internet that talks about overseas. No one. You can tell me to check out Al Jazeera and Press TV, but that's not impressing me unless you can show me a woman. You can show me a few men. They're out there. But can you show me a woman? That's what I want. I want to see a woman speak against genocide that is taking place now. Can you show me her name? Can you tell me who are my brothers and sisters that are against the genocidal agenda? Can you show me those that would put themselves in the box of a white person that can see how silence about these things isn't even good for them as a tribal group or structure down the line? Karmically, it's not good. Energetically, it's not good. Spiritually, it's not good. But can you show me? And what these are challenges to the current female audienceship. And out of those that have started their own channels, how many of those, A, have started their own channels, and B, have talked about the ultimate misogyny of all that is? I don't know of any. It's not a rhetorical question. I don't know of any. You can change that. That's right. I am playing one of the largest roles, although I reach very little people, in helping women actually understand what actual ascension is beyond just what people think it is, which is perceiving that pulsing in your third eye, which is naturally going to happen as a result of magnetism. You don't actually have to be a spiritual princess to be picking up on magnetism affecting your neurological chemistry. The actual consciousness expansion would be that pulsing in your pineal gland manifesting in you using more percentage or parts of your brain, overcoming the programming that you were born into this world with, and you know what it is. Even if you're a hardcore fan listening for years, even donates, you know what the programming is for women to keep their mouth shut. It's not much different than the traditional misogyny that's often criticized by some elements of feminists. But where are the neo feminists to talk about the real desecration of life that comes from women? We are waiting for them. The pro abortion rallies are not impressive. The pro abortion rallies are not impressive. Shout out to all that craziness between Joey Gibson and Louise and the others at the Portland. Oh man, just look it up on your own. Let's not get too dirty on this medium. There's a lot of witchcraft going on in Portland. There are people that are literally admitting that are on the right that they're involved in witchcraft. Haley admitted it on Twitter. And if you want to know who she is and the role that she plays as her sex appeal attracts new young male Republicans to the Portland street fights. I mean, seriously, folks. Like, literally, I so want to be like Bill and Ted and go in like a time machine to, like, the past and to literally compare mannerisms. And on a certain level, when it comes to war, slavery, genocide, how much has changed? I know we smell better with our perfumes and our colognes and our saunas and our gyms. I gotcha. I gotcha, bro. I gotcha, sis, with your little pink cell phone. But on a deeper level, how are the people alive today different than the people that brought us the Crusades? How are the people of the institutions today different than the early Christian rapists, not to be confused with the true Christian, but the people that persecuted people like me, or people like the Gnostics or the Cathars, the people that talked about the archons were Gnostics? There are still people to this day that are of Caucasian background that do not know that archon is a term that their own ancestry has some history discussing. All they have to do is research and get out of the McDonald's culture of uh, uh this doesn't come across like a normal Happy Meal. This guy's crazy. And unfortunately, you have a mental health profession, which I'm not in, but I feel very concerned about the future of that industry, which can create more suicides than prevent them. Because one could say that I've seen the devil. I've made attempts at a sport to take some of my ideas that I think are great and unique and take them to the people that work within the industry. And I even told them I'll even be a janitor. I wouldn't mind even working within the industry. Hell, I'm getting kind of tired of some of this YouTube stuff. And by the way, I am going to be working on finding at least temp work when the weather gets a lot better. So I have maybe something else going on other than just